All right, morning, guys. Morning. So it's the 4th of December. We've just completed the morning session, and there has been some activity, although I've only actually managed to capitalize on a couple of the opportunities that came from the strategy this morning. So we'll jump straight in and take a look at the results. Here we go. So I've done 2 DAX trades. One was, I think it was a long that went wrong. And then the next one was a short that pretty much tagged me out of break even, which was a bit frustrating because it did run on for a little bit longer. And the third trade was a FTSE short, which did quite well. And that's pretty much been my main winner for the morning session so far today. And I've missed out on all of the other opportunities, should I say. So just a quick reminder that this strategy is a day trading intraday strategy. It's available to you. If you have Sierra charts, then I can give you access to this strategy and you can load it up. And it's really easy to install. In fact, I'll install it on your system for you. You just have to add a custom study to your chart. Simple as that. And it's really that easy. So these videos are really designed to just give you a feel for how I'm using the strategy and the kind of thought processes behind the decisions that I'm making. So let's just jump into the DAX first of all. So the first session this morning, we had a gap lower. It was all within the context of the overall move. So, you know, we are in a large gap closing process at the moment from Monday's gap. So this gap doesn't really show me a great deal other than we're just continuing that move. I held an overnight trade actually from yesterday's signals, which was a set and forget signal. Closed that out today this morning. So, yeah, that one did quite well. But as far as the intraday strategy goes, this one, the first signal this morning was a buy signal, and I ignored that. The reason I ignored that was simply because, simply because of the fact that we had this deviation warning candle just before it, and I was happy to just ignore it and just leave it. I also figured that maybe there would be an opportunity to get into this minor gap close from this morning, but I would have waited for a pullback. And luckily for me, that came. So I had this kind of return back to neutral with these sort of red and light blue candles. And then we got another buy zone candle. It actually took out the previous high, and I was happy to jump in on that for a long. But unfortunately for me, it didn't work out particularly great. So I ended that trade early, and I closed it out over here. The reason being, I think, was that with the other markets, they were looking at starting to turn as well. Just wasn't really liking the way that it was forming. I could see the colors of the candles were turning from green to red, so I just wanted to get out early rather than just let this one move to stop loss, which it would have done down here. So I got out of that one for about an 18-point loss, I think it was. And as far as the result is concerned, it was about 0.5% loser this morning. So not great, but you know, it happens. So the next one was a short. I was happy to reverse into this, just figuring that, okay, if this was a failed attempt to break the gap this morning, then perhaps we're still in the overall move to the downside. So I thought I'd ride that one and see what happens. And did that. It was underwater. At one point, I was contemplating closing this because I hadn't moved my stop loss yet behind these shelves. I thought I'd just leave it as a set and forget trade, wait for it to get to profit before I start trailing it. So this little guy didn't close above the super trend shelf, so I was happy to stay in the trade. And as it continued, we got another sell signal down here, which I ignored because I was already in one. And then I did start trailing my stop loss behind the super trend shelf. I could see a flat shelf here, so I kind of moved my stop loss to that level. And unfortunately, that little spike took me out. So that was annoying. But hey, one of those things. In fact, I think, to be honest, I actually had my stop loss behind the second shelf back. Yeah, somewhere in there. And it just tagged me out with the spread. So it was really frustrating because it was by like a fraction of a point that I got taken out there. Oh, well. So that one wasn't to be, but could have turned out quite nicely. Had I stayed in the trade, I might have managed things slightly differently down here, because as I got the deviation warning candle there, I'd have probably started to trail behind the highs of each of the deviation candles. So after we closed above the high of this one, I would have probably closed the trade out. So I wouldn't have managed to get any of those points down there. would have got more than I did by trailing it up here. So would I have done anything differently on this trade? Probably not. I think every time I would have done it, 9 times out of 10, I'd have been stopped right here. So can't be too unhappy with it. And that was it. I just decided to ignore the rest of the trades on the DAX. I got my points on the FTSE. I was happy with that. I could focus on some other things. So I ignored these buys. I ignored that sell. And of course, we're now in the break. So nothing doing over there. All right, what else? Well, if we look onto the FTSE, similar story on FTSE. We had the gap lower, and the majority of that gap closed on that 8 o'clock candle, which was above the deviation high. So it was yellow. And that meant I wasn't going to be buying that. So I ignored that, same as I did on DAX. That is a full gap close, though. That was what was interesting on FTSE. Turn back to neutral again, and we've got a sell signal over here. And I was happy to take that. It was on the DAX. And this one went really, really well. It was pretty straightforward, really. It just trailed all the way down. And I started getting a little bit anxious. Well, I've just admitted it. Started getting a little bit anxious once we got this deviation candle here, simply because we're so close to target, and I saw this wide range bar, and thinking to myself, okay, well, normally when you get these flush candles, it sort of wiped out some of these stops. You normally tend to find a turnaround, and it would really suck if it turned around just a few points short of the stop loss. So I decided to be exactly the same as I did or suggested on the previous chart, to trail behind the highs of these VWAP candles. So as soon as I took that one out, that closed me. So I trailed it in really tight behind the highs, and that was where I got taken out. Luckily for me, that was great, because I took as many points as I probably could have done out of that move, because I would not have stayed in to this low down here, because this close would have taken me out. So I'm quite pleased with the way that I got out of that. Yeah, I don't think I would have done anything any differently. So that was a good one. And overall, that one managed to take 36 points on FTSE, which is a good trade by anyone's standards. But it was just under 3% added. So yeah, quite pleased with that. That was good. All right, let's just take a look at some of the others as well. So Euro stocks, I haven't traded Euro stocks for a few days, actually. I've normally just traded either the DAX or the Euro stocks, but I've favored the DAX. So I've ignored Euro stocks altogether. So none of these trades were taken. The short here was probably the only one that looks any good, because you could have trailed it all the way down here. Might well have been a target, but we'll have a look. So if I was trading this, the way I would have done it is this candle would have closed, confirming that as a sell signal. So it would have opened up as early as I could on this candle. So assuming that I'm a little bit late, opening in somewhere there. You're looking for 4 to 1. It was nowhere near, actually. It was barely 2 to 1. And would have just continued to hold that until this candle here closed above the super trend line. So it would have got out somewhere around there for around about 1%, 1.5% as a gain. All right. And there were longs that were valid as well that would have actually been closed out up here. But I just haven't taken any of them. So let's go and take a look at the Dow and see what the Dow offered this morning. So the first thing I saw on the Dow was this kind of 2-hour bullish run here was already in the buy mode as it clicked over into 8 o'clock for me. So had there been any buy signals here, I would probably not have taken them. I was already in a DAX short and possibly the FTSE short at this stage, so I didn't want to triple up. I just decided to ignore the Dows. I ignored that buy signal, I ignored that sell signal. And the only one that looked any good this morning was this buy here, just after 10 o'clock. But at that stage, I was doing something else, and so I missed it. But again, to give an idea of how this would have worked, as soon as this candle closed, it would have confirmed that as a buy signal. And the stop loss would have been somewhere behind, or I can't see where the dot is here, but it's probably around here somewhere, or maybe you could use this one. And you'd have got in as early as you could on that candle. You look for 4 to 1, and which would have been way up there, but probably would have been closed out here. As soon as it clicked over, you would have been out of that one for about 1.75% as a gain, which is not too bad. But I would not take that trade. And that is it. So that is where we're at. So only 3 trades this morning on the intraday strategy. Forex is doing pretty well today. Got plenty of trades open on Forex at the moment. And yeah, they're doing really well. Very, very pleased with those. So there's 4 of those open. And set and forget trades for DAX, FTSE, and Eurostoxx. I don't have anything open today. Nothing at all. So it's really just Forex and the intraday strategy that I'm working at the moment. So that's me done for the morning session. Hope you guys have had a pretty good one as well. Again, if you want more information about this strategy, then just go and check out the website. There's a post up on there, an article that would explain it in more detail. And if you're a Sierra Chance user and you want access to the strategy, then just hit me up. Send me a message on Telegram and I'll sort it all out for you. All right, guys, that's me done. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll be back later on this afternoon for another update for the afternoon session. All right, take care.